Is the comment. He says you've got a little something there.
Okay,
So, all right, let me. All right, now, all right. That's people are notified. All right, we're starting. Let's go.
cool.
All right. Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you are doing well. We are here for a conversation, an exclusive conversation, an exclusive surprise conversation with singer,
Yeah.
rapper, songwriter, producer Anton Exum, whose new record is out now. Which is the X pronounced to see it's Cardinal Coffee or like Zardin
It's Cardinal Coffee.
Cardinal
Yeah, it's
Coffee?
just spelled
Yeah.
with the
So
X.
that record's been out for a little bit now. We're going to be talking about that album and more, your life, your interesting and sudden trajectory into the music world from the world of sports and anything else that comes up as well. But I guess the first thing I wanted to get into was that in preparation or in teasing toward this conversation, you said that people needed to be here because it would be entertaining and that if they came in,
Yeah.
they would be entertained. And
Yes.
what are your plans here? What's your master plan here? Besides sipping probably some delicious tea.
Oh man, great tea. Good guy, great tea. Yeah.
Yeah, what's your master plan here for entertainment? What's the objective?
Yeah. Just to talk, man. I mean, I feel like, to be honest, me being on the screen right now is kind of entertaining enough. I got your Twitter feed going kind of crazy, like the Twitch. I don't know how Twitch works. I don't really have a Twitch, but I'm sure they can comment and people are, talking and discussing what's happening right now. People are asking what's happening.
There
You know what I'm
there
saying?
there
They're
is
confused on what's
there
happening,
is a
and
chat.
yeah, that was maybe a little bit of the intent here. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? I thought it was pretty suiting for the way that I go about music and the way that I went about Cardinal Coffee.
Hmm.
I felt like I needed to do something here,
Hmm.
you know?
Create a viral moment.
Yeah, no. Maybe not a viral moment. I mean, if it goes viral, it goes viral, but uh just something that was suiting, because I'm sure the reason that we're on the phone right now is because you like some of the songs on Cardinal Coffee. That's the only reason we're talking. Or some people that like some songs. So I felt like it was what I'm doing right now is related to Cardinal Coffee directly, as far as the reinvention of myself many times over and over and over and over again, like I did on Cardinal Coffee.
Hmm.
Yeah, I just thought it would be fitting to take you into Uki world a little bit and give you some of the, you know, the fearlessness to recreate myself.
Okay. Well, I mean, it is a record that, I mean, I'm not talking to a lot of people in my personal life about the album or anything like that, but I do see you and I see this record as at least a little bit as like a hidden gem of sorts, and I
Sure.
do think
Wow.
I do think it is a
Those are big words. I like that.
it's a short but it's a very versatile project where you're doing a little bit of everything. There
Yeah.
is, kind of dreamy indie pop on there. There's rock cuts on there. There's grimy ass trap cuts on there. You're kind of
Yep.
doing it all. And I guess I just wanted to ask you kind of point blank, like with such a varied album, being your debut, kind of your big entrance into the music industry under this name, like what was your goal with putting this record out? What kind of impact and reaction were you hoping it would get, and are you getting it?
Yeah. I don't really know how to concern myself with a goal as far as like reaction to people listening to it. I mean, I guess just a really simple reaction would be, "Hey, man, I really like that." That's that was there was some great songs on there. It was a good collection of songs that you put together. But other than that, I mean, I was just trying to make something um, interesting. I was trying to make something interesting, and it was a very experimental time for me in music when I was making that. So I was, I guess, testing out and exploring a lot of different sounds. So I've said this before, but the only thing that was conceptual about Cardinal Coffee was just the fact that I did want to be so versatile. Like that was what it wasn't like, some like, oh man, there's, some huge conceptual message behind all the songs as a collective. It was just like, what I want to do is be extremely diverse song to song, meaning that like when you start on song 1 and then you get to like song 4, you know that you have to listen to the rest of the songs because you might miss a vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like you might miss a mood or style of song from 1 to 9.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all we were trying to do. I feel like there's a lot of music today, and it's not a good or a bad thing. It's just a lot of monotonous sounds, like meaning like people will drop an album and it's like throwing darts at the dartboard, and they hit in the middle like maybe like twice, and then but there's 16 songs on the album Extano, so like that means you got 14 of them that are just kind of like
yeah,
you know,
that seems almost like the business model. You're kind of just doing like 18 songs that sound the same and hoping for the 2 or 3 of them that just kind of smash.
Exactly. And you really don't have many people. I mean, unless you don't really have many artists out there that are really smashing that on a record to record basis. I mean, you got like fucking, you notice like a Tame Impala or something. His songs have the same kind of vibe, like song to song, but they're fucking fantastic. So you can do it well. You know what I'm saying? And similar to some of the artists that you've given a 10 recently to. You've given 2 10s in like the last month or something, and I checked those albums out, and it was kind of the same thing there. It was all like this last girl that was incredible. Like that was like a haunting project I was listening to. It was like really interesting soundscapes and whatnot, but it was consistent from what I was hearing was consistent from track to track, but it was still impressive.
So would you say, with this album being a result of an experimental period, that this record in a way is sort of like a test of what works and what doesn't, and maybe you'll be kind of like leaning in a certain direction from here, or is the idea to always be kind of like experimenting and kind of jumping around from track to track?
I would say I wouldn't say it was just like testing to see what works. I almost don't care what works. Like I'm just like doing what I want to do, like making what I want to make and what feels good to me. But I would say I was just kind of scratching the surface. Like this goes way further than just Cardinal Coffee, Fantano. Like
Oh no, I believe it does.
Yeah, I've got albums like waiting, like they're in the wings waiting to get going. So in the future projects are more congruent than Cardinal Coffee. But I think Cardinal Coffee will stand the test of time as like, I think Cardinal Coffee might stand the test of time when I blow up, like it might stand the test of time as the most versatile album ever. Like when I listen to music, I've never seen an album that went from like style to style like that in the history of music. I just have not seen it. And I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing, Fantano. I'm not sitting here saying fucking Cardinal Coffee's the best thing ever. Like this is a fucking, I'm not saying it's the best album of all time. I'm just saying that the versatility and diversity and dynamicness on this album has not been seen before in music. And that's what I was doing with Cardinal Coffee. But I won't be always doing that moving forward, but I always will be experimental. It's kind of like Bowie said, I don't know, where the fuck exactly I'm going, but it will be interesting. It won't be boring.
Yeah. I mean, if I had a strong disagreement with what you were saying right now, I would push back. I mean, I can't really, I think, music fans out there could point to acts like, let's say Ween, for example, or like Mr. Bungle, who are just like famously like, doing everything almost to a point where it's like a gimmick. But like, as far as as far as Cardinal Coffee goes, I can't really name a record that like has a song on it like Sage the Room, Dark Kept Secret, and then all of a sudden you're doing this wild, sexy synth funk thing on Arrest the Dancer.
You will not see that.
Yeah.
You won't see an Arrest the Dancer, Sage the Room, and a Muffin Years in Lydian on the same album. Like, you just won't get it.
Yeah.
Like, that's just not something that you'll get. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I feel that that's a very unique thing that I was able to do here. And, I've said this to people before. I feel that with the trajectory of where I'm going with my artistry, I've only seen like two artists, and I guess you named two just now, but the two in my head that were like kind of all over the place but were hitting was Beck and also Live in Peace XXXTentacion. He was doing a lot of things. Both of those artists were doing a lot of things, like, but it still wasn't per project though, or like on one project. It was like, you know, if Beck wanted to be Prince, he would put out the song. What was that one song he's got like called Dorothy or something, or like
yeah, I mean he's got quite a few tracks that are going into Prince.
Yeah, he's got some records that are of one style, but then the next one might be like something totally different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's kind of I really respect that in those guys being able to recreate themselves, because there's nobody saying that you have to be in one lane.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, or like you have to do one thing. The voice does many things, just like the guitar. Like, so, and the voice is, you know, our most valuable instrument possibly. So I don't understand why, you know, a lot of artists, you know, pigeonhole themselves, but that's not, you know, for me to understand. I just do what I do.
No, to sort of like illustrate your trajectory to this point, and to sort of like back up what you were saying earlier in terms of like your dedication to this, I most definitely feel that because of, you know, how you've arrived at this point. I know that music for you goes back a long time, but there was a large portion of your life where, you know, sports was kind of the focus through high school sports and college sports, and then eventually making it to the NFL. And, you know, to sort of like illustrate this and just hear it straight from you, like what exactly was the breaking point where you're moving professionally out of this field that some people honestly would like kill to, you know, be at that level, you know? But at one point you're just basically like, you know what? Like for me, it's going to be music. I need to move into the music world. And, you know, again, to illustrate your point, like, I think it takes a lot of drive and a lot of passion and a lot of something to be like, you know, I need to give up on this to pursue this other thing. You know, I feel like moving into music, leaving something like the NFL to do music, I imagine is not a decision that someone takes lightly.
Sure. Yeah. It kind of goes back to my point that I've been, you know, beating a dead horse with this whole, this interview thus far, is just the recreation and like the evolution of things. Like I just see things as kind of like stages, like that. The football stage was a stage in a period of my life, and now I've moved on to being one of the great inspiring artists of our existence. We might not know that, the people watching this might not know that right now, but I know it, and that's all that in Uki world, I know that. You know what I'm saying? That's all that's important. But to answer your question a little bit more in detail, like I think there was a time where I just figured, Extano, that I wasn't able to put as much time as I wanted to towards music. You know what I'm saying? When I want to do something, there are no limits on what I do, like, or what I can do. The possibilities in my head are limitless. So you know, when I wanted to become a football player, it was like, okay, I need to become football. Like I need to immerse myself into football to be the best player that I can get out of myself during this time. And now with music, it's the exact same thing. But, you know, when I was kind of juggling both at the same time, it was like, man, get home from practice, I'm sweating my ass off in the car trying to record some shit in the fucking heat, no AC. I mean, I'm sweating, Fantano. Like it's like the fucking sweat is all over the computer, like GarageBand. The songs are trash. Like, you know what I'm saying? The songs are trash, but I'm crafting because I love this shit. So like, it just got to a point where I was like, yeah, man, I gotta put more into this if I really wanted to become music and be the vessel that I feel that I am now. So yeah.
So it was I guess I don't know, at one point did you just feel like pursuing one, I mean, you know, you're illustrating a fair point that you didn't have enough time to you know, sort of pursue music or create the kind of music that you wanted to make. But was there something that was like, you know, pulling you toward that was like, you know what, this is more important than the other thing?
No, I actually think, to be honest, Extano, I hope that's a great name for you, Extano.
I'm remixing my name all the time. You're invited to do the same.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. So I think it was time. One, because I was like, I just felt like I was missing out on music. Like I didn't want to, like, it was something I was so focused on and it was occupying so much of my mental space and my spiritual space, and I just was like, man, I just really need to dive balls deep into this.
Mhm.
You know, if I want to be everything that I feel that I can be in that and everything that I am. And also, you know, from a football perspective, I think it was time for me to stop beating my body up too. So I was like, you know, I think it's I don't want to do any more further damage, you know,
Mhm.
to my body for longevity purposes. So I think this is a great outing. You know, a lot of guys, you know, they get out of the league and it's a really long, stressful transition period of like, you know, what do I do now? How do I find my self-worth and all that stuff? I mean, thank God I don't have those issues, but it's like they, you know, guys go through identity crisis when they leave the game.
Mhm.
But that wasn't me. Like if I was to get hurt, Extano, like I was hyped as fuck because I was like, I was driving straight to Oakland to the studio, bro. Like it wasn't like this. Oh fuck, man, life's over. Like I just like started writing bars immediately, like studying beats, like so. Yeah, man, it was just it was a smooth transition. Thank God.
You know, speaking of not just the audience reception of the record, which we talked a little bit about, but like, how are you feeling so far about, I guess, your entry and acceptance thus far in what you know to this point as like the industry? Because, you know, you've turned some
Sure.
heads in the blog world. You've caught the attention of guys
Sure.
like Alex G.
Yep.
You know, do you feel like people have been relatively like, you know, open to you just kind of, I don't know, just like appearing suddenly before our eyes? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, there are a lot of artists out there who, you know, grind for a bit, and you've no doubt been doing your thing for a while. But like when I first came across, what was the first music video that I saw?
You saw Dark Kept Secret and you said normalize big indie boys or
Yeah, a bit
something or
like
large.
big guys in indie. So like when I first saw that, I feel like you just appeared fully formed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like, you know,
Yeah.
on just like plot down onto the. I feel like you came down like fucking, you know, Mega Man
Yeah.
villain, just like whoosh, and you were there
Yeah.
ready
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
like the saws ready to fly and everything. And I
Right.
was
Right.
like,
Like I wasn't sharpening the iron. Like the sword was already pulled,
yeah,
like ready to go.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like, you know, how have others in the music world kind of reacted to that, either in public or behind the scenes? You know, to your sudden
Yeah.
appearance and also your transition from a totally different, you know, world.
Yeah. I think it's been pretty warm. I mean, like you said, you know, I think most people, we knew what we were doing with Dark Kept Secret. Like we knew that that was a really good song and that it would be well received. And you know, at the end of the day, man, you really can only go by the art that somebody presents you. Like you can't, like the rest of the shit is just kind of like, you know, the myth and the legend and shit. And that's like, you know, the oh man, he played football and he did this and da da da. But to be honest, man, the record or the history of athletes doing like being bold enough to follow music and do music like I'm doing it is fucking garbage. It's terrible. So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah. No,
that
it's
almost like it was almost like, wait, bro, like please do not group me with like don't group me in this thing of like the normal history of athletes pursuing music, because that's gonna, you
yeah,
know,
you know,
people,
like
it's
the
like
classic videos of all the football players groups singing to like a really bad rock song, or you know,
yeah,
like the
yeah,
random sports star deciding that they're gonna rap or whatever to do a diss
yeah,
track to somebody
yeah,
else. No, I mean, it's, you know, honestly,
right,
like I needed to. I needed to look into your background after finding out about the song to even find out that you were in the NFL. And, you know, and
sure.
I posted that tweet before
Great to hear, by the
I
way.
posted that tweet before I even knew that. I just thought when I saw the video,
Wow.
when I saw the video, I just thought you were a big guy. You know,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, he's a big guy. It was, you know, it was, and that's why I posted the tweet. I said, normalize big indie boys, because you
Yeah,
just seem
it's
like a big guy, and you know,
to understand your
yeah,
tweet.
you,
Like it was like I was like, wait, I'm not like really that large in the indie world yet. Like I wonder what does he mean by this? And then and then I was like, wait, I mean I was standing on the boat like with my shirt off and like you know I am
was
kind of big. So
as somebody who's dad was in powerlifting and has spent some time in some gyms. I was like, he looks like he lifts.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you
Yeah.
know, and sort of the refreshing thing that I thought was kind of striking about the music video in that way was that, like, you know, again, clearly you come across like a big dude, but like the music video itself is so fucking melodramatic and is
Right.
so, you know, it's so there's almost kind of like a Twin Peaksy sad soap opera
Yeah.
kind of quality
Yeah.
to like the looks that
Hmm.
you're giving into the camera, and then sort of like, you know, the
Yeah.
symbolism of the horse with the blue star on it, and, you know, like
Yeah.
the whole star stage. I was like, this is just dramatic as fuck, you know. And it's like, and I love that,
Exactly.
you know, he's coming out here like a big guy and just being, you know, really sensitive about it, you know. So I
Yeah.
don't know,
Yeah.
to me that seemed kind of refreshing, and on top of it, just the song was good.
Thank you, man. Wow. Yeah, I really appreciate that. I'm glad that you got all of that out of the video. Yeah, that's nice. That's really nice.
Well, yeah, no problem. So, I mean, you know, I guess like experience so far, would you say that the music industry is proving to be a little bit more navigatable than the sports industry, or maybe more gratifying?
Wow, great question. Um, I don't really know if I know that yet. I don't know if I'm deep enough
You know,
into the.
maybe it's not something that you'll totally know until you tour. You got to do like
You
a
know what
full
I'm saying?
tour.
Yeah, yeah. This isn't like um fucking Taylor Swift level stardom
Right.
yet. Like that. Like I don't really know what it's like. The fucking industry vultures and shit like that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
to know you
Like
have to have somebody like Scooter Braun ripping you off. You have to have done a tour where you lost a ton of money, and
yeah, yeah.
you have to have a feature on the new Kanye record that you didn't get paid for.
Exactly, exactly. In some type of scam
Yeah,
by somebody. And I have to be forced to be put out an album that I did not want to release and switch
that you
genres.
didn't want to release. You have to get canceled. You have to get canceled, and
Yeah,
then you have to die, and then we have 3 more albums of posthumous stuff.
exactly, exactly. And then I can come back and be like, man, yeah, this industry is wild, man. It's crazy out here. Like a fucking jungle, dog.
Speaking of which, did you hear about the new Anderson .Paak tattoo?
Yes, he said he didn't want any albums to come out after death,
Yeah.
and I thought that was great because because but the funny
Well,
part
well,
is they're still gonna drop those
do
dates.
you agree with that sentiment? Is that something that you identify with?
You know, Extano,
Hmm.
I think that I have at this moment in my career, right? Like if I was to go tomorrow, now mind you, I've already gone and came back like Jesus.
Hmm.
So this is my second go round.
Yeah.
Now, if I was to go tomorrow, I feel that I have trustworthy enough people in my camp to finish the fucking like they would know. And I'm very intense in particular. Like I'm like Kubrick with my like artistic process and shit. So they know.
Hmm.
Like, and I don't work with that many. I'm only working with 2 guys, and one of them you reviewed already too, Eric Samkoff. But anyways,
Okay.
yeah, you reviewed a Pingoot song. It's called Pingoot. He's out of Norway,
Yeah.
and but yeah, anyways, yeah, they know how particular I am with things, and I feel that they would go the extra mile to do it how I would want it done. You know what I'm saying? Especially with me gone, it's be emotional, niggas crying and shit. Like that. I don't know. It'd be a lot of shit going on. They wouldn't want to disappoint me,
Hmm.
and have me haunting them through the spirits and all that. Like, so I feel that they would let me. They would send me off right. But if they didn't, man, I would be pretty upset.
It's just so weird that, and not that you have to have exactly the same plan that Anderson does, but it's weird that in the music industry today that artists have to think about having to have a
Sure.
plan,
Sure.
given the state of
Yeah.
things, whether that plan is like, don't put out anything, nothing should come
Right.
out, or like, I know a few guys who I definitely trust to be able to do something, which like,
Yeah, well,
I feel like we shouldn't have to think about that. I feel like we shouldn't have to worry about
No.
that. And yet we do.
No, well, it's in the pudding though. The proof is in the pudding there. I mean, there have been so many. I don't, it's funny, bro. I don't know how to say that word. Is it posthumous?
Posthumous.
Okay, it's posthumous.
Yeah, no, it's one of many words in the English language that just doesn't read like the way it fucking sounds. I swear
Yeah,
to God, every single time I have to say in a review, I have to look up how to pronounce the word tapestry because I want to
yeah,
say tapestry
yeah, yeah.
tapestry. I don't want to say
Right, right. You don't
tapestry.
want to say that.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I'll give you credit
it's
on that.
it's pos
Yeah,
posthumous.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Your diction though, and your vocabulary and the flow of how you talk on this site is what grew me. I mean, what drew me to watching your videos.
Bam.
Like I was like, this guy is talking so well with so many great words that I appreciate that I feel like he must know what the fuck he's talking about in some capacity. You know what I'm saying? Like when I first saw it, that's what attracted me. Like if we were dating or
If
something,
we,
I'd be like, damn man, hey, Fantano got them words. Like you know, like
which is unfortunate because my fans will often note that when I come on here to do interviews, I'm awkward as fuck. So
nah,
there's also that.
yeah, nah, I don't think so. I knew you would. I don't really I feel like I have like an aura about me that like if somebody's awkward, that kind of once we get to talking and the flow is right, it's like that shit goes out of the window. So this is a great conversation right here. But back to your posthumous or whatever that word is comment. The proof is in the pudding, man. There have been too many albums that just come out in the famous words of Extano, half baked. Like the tracks are coming out like, and you can tell that they're half baked. Like the mix is garbage. Like like they're just not even taking the time to like, and the like spending the amount of time on detail that the artist would. I feel like they're just like, man, this is, we just got to put this out. There's a check behind it. His name's bubbling right now, or her name's bubbling because they just died. So we got to hurry up and get it out to fucking ride the wave of that. Like, it's just like so many conflicting things going on there. That's just like, I don't, I don't know what to tell them, man. It's just kind of disappointing in a sense. But that music should get heard. But we should trust people to do the right thing with it, man, and spend the time that the artist would spend. If the artist wouldn't spend that much time, then fuck it. But if it's me, my camp knows the amount of time that needs to go into this before we even think about putting it out there to the rest of the world.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
like if I feel like there's a way to present some of this stuff as long as you present it as what it is. It's in the raw, and just be honest about that.
Sure.
Just be like,
Sure.
look, this is what's left. This is what's, if you love you
Yeah.
love the artist and you really care about what they do, you'll be there'll be that curiosity to go check it out, whether or not it's presented as is and presented honestly, or if it's like, touched up and fucked up and ruined. I mean, at least if it's presented honesty, it maybe gives you an incentive to go back and try it again, because then it's like, then you kind of have to imagine like maybe what they were going for, or maybe what they were shooting for. And maybe in that context as well. And this might be uncomfortable for some people who, are artists, or some people who are connected to these kinds of camps. But like, maybe if you present some of this shit in the raw, like the fans will take it and they'll remix it and they'll do something crazy with it. And they'll like give it, some kind of new, interesting thing, instead of just giving some guy who's going to give it a shitty mix and have them take a whack at it and totally ruin it and just create something everybody hates.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you have a better chance of like celebrating somebody's memory and ensuring that it's going to live on if you've got random people just like grabbing at tracks, grabbing at stems, grabbing at samples, and just like kind of creating something organically with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like like it would be like if we found like an old fucking crate of like Tupac ideas.
Sure.
Just like not even full like songs, just like ideas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and stuff like that is
like,
out there. It's why every once in a blue moon you have like a new Biggie feature that comes out of nowhere, where it's like, some random fucking song featuring Notorious B.I.G. It's like, how? It's like, oh, well, or some new song featuring ODB, and it's like, oh, it turns out this verse is 30 years old, and it's been sitting here for so long, and now it's just landing on a record. Okay, so that stuff is out there.
Yeah, their marketing. That's a point that me and my camp have not talked about yet, Extano. That's a great point there. The marketing on these posthumous albums is not accurate. It's like it should be marketed as like this literally, this is what's left, like demo tapes of what's left, like just like these are the ideas they were playing with. You know what I'm saying? Like that would be that would be more interesting than marketing a full album and trying to I don't know, I guess try to put out there that it's somewhat complete.
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
here's the thing, like nobody fucking, like the only exception to this rule, ironically enough, is David Bowie. But like
Sure.
nobody fucking like dies with a full record ready. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like nobody,
Right.
you know, even the last Mac Miller, as great as that record was, needed to be finished before it actually came out. You know what I mean? Like in all the history of popular music, especially popular music among artists who are ultra relevant, like you're just not going to have a record that the moment that person dies, that's just like 100% ready to go. And it's just done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, out of the, like just yeah, mixed, mastered, taped up, like polished, all that. It's just not really gonna happen unless, I guess, you know, like you said, you're David Bowie or you're Exum.
Yeah,
one of the other.
Exactly. So let's not plan your death though too prematurely.
No, let's try to stay alive for as long as we can.
So like,
what else you got? Ask me some questions.
Well, I guess like, you know, now that the record's out, like, what do you feel like your game plan is? Is it to start heading out and kind of planning some performances, or are you just like right back into writing mode and, you know, continuing the next set of videos and songs that you're going to be presenting to everyone?
Yeah, sure. So very soon I should have 2 albums completed. So I really do fit in that list that we were just talking about. So very soon, one of them is like longer than the other. One's 16 tracks, one's 7 tracks at this point. And they're outstanding. Both of them are outstanding. I don't like either one of them more or less than the other. But I can't really stop writing, Extano. Like I just I'm like, you mentioned David Bowie, so it's hard for me not to talk about somebody like that, or like Prince. Like I really wake up like thirsty, like to create. Like I'm like a artist at its truest form. Like whether a million people are watching me or nobody, like I really love to create and think about that shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I really care about it. So it's hard for me not to create. I'm pretty much always working on something, and that doesn't just always mean music. Like I'm plotting things in my head for like years down the road, like having a city and things like that. Like,
yeah. I mean, it sounds like a Kanye level of ambition, where it's like, you know, you come in through sports, then you're mastering music, and in 10 years you're one of the world's greatest directors.
Okay, so you just kind of mapped my career out. So,
yeah.
So you must be, something is going, there must be some connection here, because you just literally mapped my career out. You know what I'm saying? Like you forgot like the city portion, but yeah, the rest of it is pretty on target. Like I'm always making things, though. I can't remember what the fuck what you asked me though. What was
to get into these 2 records that you're eventually going to put out, creating these 2 albums in such a close succession and having them done kind of together, like over the creative process of these 2 projects, like what to you about them said, okay, this song works for this album, this song works for this album, especially given that you're talking about them having such wildly different track list lengths. You know, like what is it about the vibe of one record that a certain song fits on versus the vibe of one of the other records that you have ready?
So for both of these, they were more the sounds, the vocal deliveries, the sounds, the vocal deliveries, the styles, even the stories, and like the colors of the music was all like thought about like while it was like being done, or like pre-making. Like we had that shit figured out, like this is what we're going to do. So it was pretty easy, to be honest, to kind of glue those songs together. Like it was just like, yeah, I mean, this is what we're doing. The next project is called 27 Planets, is a more, like I said in the beginning, it's a more congruent project. Like there's a thicker string that ties the songs together. And we had it's a dark, it's still experimental, very experimental, and it's still diverse, but you know, I'm rapping a lot, I'm still singing, it's still got like an indie touch to it. But very astral and spacey, like, you know, just kind of out there with its the sounds and the deliveries and even the song structures. So I'm really excited about that, and I think you're gonna really fuck with it too. Like maybe like 10 fuck with it, or like strong 9 to a light 8, like fuck with it. Like I know I don't know if a nigga's ever came on here and called this shot like on some Babe Ruth, but like I'm gonna take that 9 and 8 shit back. I think you're gonna give this project a 10, bro. Like that's how I'm feeling about it, and I'm a critic.
Don't go too hard. Don't go too hard.
I'm not gonna, no. I have to go hard because that's how I feel about it, and I'm very truthful too, though.
You know, never mind. I actually appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Like I know that Cardinal Coffee, when I listen back to it now, it's a good record, but it's not excellent. It's a good record.
Some people in chat are loving your energy. Some people in chat are really impressed with the energy.
Tell them I love them back, and they're gonna get way more of this because I'm not going anywhere.
I think some people are definitely like inspired to try the record if they haven't already.
Oh, please, and listen and listen to it all the way through 1 to 9. It's not that many tracks, so go ahead and listen.
It reminds me of have you heard of the Australian dude Genesis Owusu?
Yes, I don't know if I've like dived into him deeply, but
try out his new record. What you were saying reminded me of his energy. Where I was asking him in his interview, I said, this is like your first big record, your first big outing. What drove you to try to make such a conceptual project? Because it is a concept album, and usually artists aren't trying to pull together something like so narrative on their first record. And why is it that you're attempting that and other people aren't? And he just said, because everybody else is pussy. Fantano, everybody else is pussy. And I was like, wow, that was he went hard. He said everyone else is pussy. And I said, whoa. And I said, okay.
It's like, right. Wow. So I guess he's passionate about why he decided to do that.
Yeah. You were giving me that vibe. You said it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm not really here to call anybody pussy or not, but I am here to speak my piece about my music.
Yeah.
That is what I'm here to do.
No, I appreciate you talking it up, and honestly, like it does make me hype, and it does make me excited. It does make me, I appreciate when someone could be confident about their shit.
You were one of the first people. Like, I feel that me and you should move forward as like I should be like sending you music like before and not having to worry about it being leaked. Like
I would never leak anything that you sent me.
I know you would.
I would never leak anything that you sent me. But let me warn you against doing that though, because like honestly, like when I hear something in an unfinished state, I'm not hearing what you're hearing, because when something's not done, you're hearing the vision in your head. You know what I mean? I'm not going to hear the vision in your head. And honestly, I've heard some records. I'm not going to say who. I've heard some records in a different mix phase where I thought they sounded better than they actually did when they came out. It's only happened a couple times. I've done thousands of reviews, and there's only like 2 instances where that's been the case.
Yeah.
And it didn't necessarily like ruin it for me, but it did at least like set a certain level of expectation where it's like, oh, I thought this was going to sound better or have this part of this other part. So, best not to send anything until it's done.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you like this. I'm not going to send anything until I feel that it's ready to be appreciated for what it is.
Sure.
Regardless if like, I don't give a fuck. It may not be mixed or it may be not mastered, like whatever. If I feel that you can get what I'm getting from it, like if you can understand what the feeling that I'm getting from this music, if you can translate that, then I will be, I would be comfortable sending that. But I do understand that you do review a lot of music, and it could get picked to shreds. Like it could get picked to shreds. So I'll keep that in mind. I'll be a little picky. I'll be picky about, what I send for you to check
Yeah,
out.
because honestly, I think for, at least in my own experience, for the best review, I think whatever I will be reviewing, you want it to be relatively fresh to me.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Before I actually get to like hearing the whole record, you don't want me having heard various parts of it 30 times already. You know what I mean?
No, you're right, man. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, actually, I'm not going to ever send you music early now. That makes a whole lot of sense. So I'm not ever going to send you.
Like, look, if you have a done song and it's going to be a single and you want to, and you want to send it a week before it's out or something, that's fine. That's totally cool. Okay. But like, like
as far as a full package,
but anything you're like still incubating, it's probably not the best.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you have so much time to listen to so much music?
It's my job. How do you have so much time to make so much music?
I understand that. Yeah. I understand that. But you're not only listening to music, you're also reviewing it and doing Twitch interviews and other things like that too.
Well, I have other people who help. There are other people who help edit and stuff like that. So I'm not doing everything all by myself. So
I mean, it's so you're actually not the world's busiest music nerd.
It's still a lot. Like, I'm probably going to be up until 3 tonight working, but like, there's other people, helping out.
Respect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can respect that. Yeah. That's nice. I've always just wondered that. It's like, man, he's listening to a lot of shit. Like, and you listen to it, and your reviews are so detailed that it's like you're not listening to it like the normal music consumer these days, where you're just kind of like going to the star tracks on Apple and just kind of skipping around doing this thing. 30 seconds in, I'll go to the next. Like you might do that and you're not telling anybody, but I feel that you are listening like deeply to these like through and through, from one to however many is done.
I think it depends on the record. I mean, there's some albums where maybe, and I will admit this, maybe I'm not like diving into, I guess like, to use kind of a metaphor here, like, if I'm kind of assessing the quality of the build on a house, for example, I'm not going to go in the house and sort of like observe and comment on maybe, let's say, the artisan, carving of like I want to say, like on the wainscoting or the floorboards. If I walk up to the house and it's fucking on fire, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like if the house is on fire, I'm probably not going in that house. I'm just like, this shit's, and the review's pretty much going to be like, this shit's on fire. Right. And, and you may have some people responding like, well, hold on a second. Didn't you appreciate the open concept of the first floor? No, I didn't, because that shit was on fucking fire. And, so there are some times where maybe a foundational aspect or element, or maybe a surface level element of a record will be so off and be so, lacking and be so off-putting that everything else that rests upon it, like a broken or crumbling foundation, nothing else on top of it really matters, because the fundamentals aren't there, either in terms of like execution or a whole host of other things that, you could rest on top of that. So, but the thing is, when I do hear a record where it seems like all those basic boxes are checked, just like the album you were talking about, the new Lingua Ignota record, the God, the hymn stuff and the God stuff, and, the narratives relating to abuse and spirituality and so on and so forth. Like when all of those ducks are in a row, like I'm going through that whole, I'm going in every room. I'm like, oh my God, this, and I'm talking about everything.
Yeah. So okay, so let's get into this then, and this is just kind of open discussion at this point.
We can get into this, and you said that you had questions for me earlier, so whatever you want. It's a free for all.
Oh fuck yeah, man. Yeah. Okay. So I don't have anything off the top of my head now, besides what I'm thinking about presently. But so I was listening to Tyler, the Creator, the other day on an interview. I think it was with like Ebro or some shit, and he was talking about reference point and whatnot, and being able to how like some people can't reference certain things in styles in music back to anything. And this
Are you talking
isn't
about,
just with music.
listeners?
Yes, listeners, but I could literally,
Like when they hear it, they don't know where it comes from.
they don't have anything to make it make sense or to like understand it. So it's almost like I don't like this. It's kind of like no. I have no reference point to why
Yeah,
this
no,
would be cool to
that
me.
says a lot
You know what I'm
about
saying?
how a lot of enjoyment of, look, a lot of enjoyment of music is actually just like understanding whatever patterns it is that you're hearing. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Which you've heard in the
And
past.
a lot of enjoyment comes down to familiarity, you know?
Exactly.
And not that familiarity is the only thing that makes you enjoy music. Obviously it's not. But like if something feels familiar to you, it's more likely to appeal, it's more likely to catch, it's more likely to, feel at home in your head than something that sounds alien or is disorienting or is difficult.
Exactly. So where I want to go with that is when I heard him say that, I was like, okay, man, that's a great point. That's a great point. And he was saying too that there's no right and wrongs. Like if you can't reference something, a lot of people, oh,
Whoa.
what happened?
I don't know.
Okay, a lot of people he was saying can't reference things back, so they just kind of write it off. And he's like, that just doesn't meet the criteria for their world or their aesthetic, and that's okay. They're not right. They're not wrong. Like, man, Tyler the Creator, that's too obscure. The psalm structures are too, dynamic for me. I'm not liking that because they can't really refer back to anything, and they're not wrong. It just doesn't fit what they've got going on. But where I took that, I was like, okay. So when we were children, when we were babies just get stimulated by what they see, hear, like senses, simple shit, like oh man, that smells good. Let me look over there. Or this person's got paint on their face. Let me look at him for a long time. You know what I'm saying? And that has no reference point of what you like. That's just I am intrigued by this because it's stimulating and it's doing something for me. Then you go through this weird stage where you're almost like trying to be something, like you're trying to like find. It's not a bad or good thing. It's just like you're trying to find out what you like and trying to like develop your personality almost. Then hopefully you get to a stage later in life where you drop all of that shit. You drop all of that and it's just like this like free for all of like I'm just going to go with the things that I like. Like I'm just literally going to be listening things. I don't give a fuck about a reference point. If I can refer it back to something, if it relates, if I grew up with it, if mom was playing it during Sunday dinners, like I don't care about none of that shit. Either I like it and it's stimulating me, or it's not. And I guess my question for you is, with how much music that you've reviewed over the years, do you find yourself more in that place of like free from reference points and free from things? Like, do you still have favorites based off of familiarity, or are you like, is it like a free for all? Like you could hear something that you're totally not normally into or haven't been into in the past, but you still understand its greatness? Does that make sense?
No, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, no, there are things that I definitely have to adjust to or feel or sound new to me, that maybe it takes some time to interpret or find the appeal in personally. And there are some things that I listen to that kind of snapped me instantaneously because it comes from a really familiar place, and maybe it's diving into a genre or a style that is maybe a personal favorite of mine, or maybe I listen to it at a certain point, like really deeply or really often at a certain point in my life. But I think the trick is kind of like trying to find a way to transition past those periods, because it's really just like a period of acclimation that those two things are, and getting to like an honest take on something. Because I can tell you that as I was telling my audience before you came on, I was listening to the new Pink Sifu record. And he's somebody up until this point I haven't really been crazy about. Like, obviously, he's a very abstract, underground, experimental artist who has attracted a really strong cult following. And, I certainly see a merit to what he does, but it hasn't really appealed to me personally. But he has this new record out that I heard a few tracks from, still wasn't crazy about it, but I heard the entire thing and I was actually like really impressed. And, it's going to be my next review. And, he's somebody who plays it super low key, somebody who is super quiet, super subtle. When it comes to a lot of hip hop music, I'm not usually crazy about that direction. There's some artists who do go in that direction who I like Ka, for example. But, you know, usually that's not typically my vibe. And some people in my audience will tell you maybe I'm not a viber. But his new record, I think, is a really beautiful, trippy, intoxicating collection of a lot of different Southern sounds. And, you know, it took me to hear the entire record to sort of get past that unfamiliarity hump. By that same token, there are some artists who are in genres that maybe I listened to and just kind of binged a lot in college, like maybe a post-punk thing, for example, which like, you know, that, you know, a certain bass line or groove or guitar tone in that realm could, you know, hook me instantaneously, you know, could like hook me instantaneously, but like, you know, I may have to listen to it more to be like, okay, cool. It hooked me because I'm like familiar with that sound. But by that same token, is this like anywhere near as good as any of the classic shit that I like in this style? Or is it doing anything new? Or is it like, you know, validating its existence outside of just having proven, well, we can kind of sound like Joy Division. Well, okay. I mean, there's like maybe 24 bands I could tell you that kind of, you know, spent a chunk of their career sounding kind of like Joy Division, and they came and went. So it's like, you know, why do I need to pay attention to the 25th band that sort of sounds like Joy Division and has mediocre songs and kind of spacey production? So, you know, I feel like both of the, you know, those are both instances where you kind of have to get over a hump of like, I need to acclimate myself to this. I need to get used to it. Even if it's not appealing to me right off the bat, I need to figure out at least why it's appealing to other people and maybe speak to that or speak to why it's not appealing to me, you know, in opposition to that. You know, the other side again is, okay, this is familiar to me. It's easy to listen to, but does that alone make it good? You know, and for a lot of people, yes, because not everybody is listening to music in the same fucking way that a critic is, and nobody else needs to. You know, it's like I listen to music and I'm ingesting music in a really specific way. And just because I do it in the way that I do, that's not to urge anybody else to do it in the way that I do or push anybody to do it the way that I do. You know, it's like people listen in different ways, you know, for person X, Y, or Z, listening to the 25th band that sounds like Joy Division could be cool because maybe it's just their vibe and they don't want to venture out into any other fucking thing. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But like, if I'm being critical, I have to criticize the fact that, Greta Van Fleet just sounds like a fucking Led Zeppelin ripoff. And, you know,
I wasn't gonna say that, man. Don't do that. It was in my head a little bit, but I wasn't gonna say that because I do feel like, man, that's like been a debate within like the camp. Like I like some of their songs though, off the like first album that like kind of blew up, but it's just kind of like, I'm not gonna speak too much on that. It sounds like I'm like, I don't know. I'm just gonna leave that one alone.
You could leave it. You could leave it. And look, honestly, like, you know, to enjoy some of their songs, I don't think is the worst thing in the world. Is the worst thing that you can, you know, be or do. I just don't get like the fervor, the aggressive defense, or like, or ignoring the elephant in the room, where some people, like, you know, in an attempt to defend them, are just like, they don't sound like them at all. It's like, well, come on, man.
Come on now.
Like Robert Plant said it. You know, it's like you can't ignore that. So but go on.
Yeah, you have to admit that. It's got to be one of those things where you look past that. You almost got to like put the ego aside and just be like, well, how well did they? We know what they were trying to do. Like everybody in the world should know what they were trying to attempt with this style of music, but did they do it well or not? That just becomes the question. Like, how well did they do it? How close are they, you know, to who they were heavily inspired by?
Right. And, you know, to that same point as well, you know, like records like this Yola record that I just reviewed, you know, she is like a soul and country singer who is, you know, a lot of her shit is sounding in the world of soul like some godly shit. You know, she's touching your Patti LaBelle's, and she's touching your Tina Turners, and she's touching a lot of that stuff. And honestly, like, those are big shoes to fill. But the songs are really good, you know, and I was attracted to her record at first because it's like, this sounds like some classic shit that I would be really into. But then after, you know, getting hooked into that, I really had to listen to it deep, and I was like, but is she doing it as well? You know, is she doing it to that impressive level? And the more I listened to it, the more I was like, yeah, you know, she kind of is. And maybe it's not the most original thing I've ever heard, but it's done really well. It's done really well, and you have to appreciate that. You know,
You have to. Yeah, you have to. You have to. Because the only reason to not do that would just be like it'd be like the same thing of not appreciating somebody doing a good cover
sure,
of something.
sure,
Really, that's another style of that song being done. Like, was it done well or not? That is its own song within itself. Like, you can refer back to the original, but you have to also like see how well they executed the cover was. And it's not always executed nearly as I don't know, as to I don't know. It's not always executed as well, I feel, as the original, but sometimes executed in a different style or a different direction, which can be appreciated as well.
I'm looking at some of the people in chat.
Yeah, what the fuck is going on in the chat, bro? Like,
one guy said, "I just joined. I'm low key scared." And the most recent message is 10 out of 10 interview. Holy shit! So you have I think you've delivered on your promise of entertainment tonight.
It's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. Yeah.
So I guess did you have another couple of questions you wanted to ask, or did you want to leave this on a high note, or what do you want to do from here?
Yeah. Wow. I think that was one of the questions I had, and then I had the question of how you have so much time, but you explained that, you hit on that. That's cool. I know you've been under a lot of stress lately, so I don't want to get too much into anything they were attacking you on. To be trending, man, that's a feat, bro. Like, that is a feat. Like, there was a time, bro, where nobody gave a fuck about what you thought about a tape, but now they care so much that you were trending on Twitter. That you should give yourself a pat on the back for that.
Yeah,
like, give yourself a little pat, just like a little one.
Ultimately, I don't think it's.
Thank you. There you go.
I don't think it's a bad thing, but I mean, I think a lot of that drama around the Isaiah Rashad stuff does come, from a genuine place. I mean, generally speaking, I get it. Like, people are tired of fucking hearing white people. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I understand.
Yeah.
I think maybe it wouldn't be such a big deal if, like, in the music or media world, it didn't seem like white voices held so much more weight than voices of color when it comes to hip hop music or any number of different things. But I built a really big brand, and while the internet does equalize things, it does stand to be that, like, I have a really big platform, and I do have to take into account that, like, when I say a negative thing about a record, like, with at least some people, it's going to resonate. Like, a lot of people who I might not have intended to come across the review are going to see it. And, and look, I mean, to Isaiah Rashad's point and a lot of other people's points, like, relating to the narrative of a record or the lived experience of a record is a valid way of assessing it and understanding it and enjoying it. But, like, if I could have...
Is that your responsibility? Do you have that responsibility?
Well, I guess what I'm going to say is, like, but if I could talk with Isaiah Rashad or, like, Punch in, like, a public conversation, the point I'd like to get across is that that's not the only valid way to, review or critique or understand a piece of art. You know what I mean? And on top of it, like, what is the reason we're putting art out there in the first place, if not to create a bridge through which people who haven't walked in our shoes can relate to what we're going through, I mean, that's like kind of one of the beauties or whole point of any piece of art. So I don't know, that's sort of my kind of take on that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're in a tricky space, because I just feel like, as artists, we do have to remember that I mean, I guess I don't know. I guess I get kind of confused about why someone would be so offended if you just don't think so highly of something, or you just don't like something. Because your opinion, I mean, you do this. This is your job to do, but your opinion is not worth any more than what my mom thinks of the record. Like, everybody's opinion is worth the exact same has the exact same worth. Like either you like the record or you don't, and somebody liking a record or them not goes like there's so many like circumstances and so many like factors that play into why somebody might not resonate with the record as much as somebody else. So like if you listen to my record and you were just like, yeah, man, I don't know about that. Do you think I'm gonna give like that much of a fuck? Like, no disrespect to you, but like I know I'm gonna know what I made. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna know. I might even have a clue of who it's gonna resonate with or not. You know what I'm saying? And if it doesn't resonate with you, you're a listener who it doesn't resonate with. And there are going to be some listeners over here that it does resonate with, and that's cool too. That's cool too. Like maybe you'll like the next one. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe the next one will bridge the gap for you a little bit more. Or we'll get the message across a little bit more. Like you said, bridging those worlds and sharing an experience and have somebody relate to an experience they haven't been through. Maybe the next one will bridge that for you and welcome you in. But like, if it didn't happen on this one, then it just didn't happen on this one. Like I'm not sitting in my fucking mom's closet recording music thinking about, oh fuck, man, I gotta make sure that it hits for this one critic, bro. Like if it doesn't, I gotta change that bridge. I need to spice the hook up.
I think that's the worst thing anybody could be thinking of when they're making a record. Like what's Fantano gonna say? Please don't ever I'm not saying that to you directly. Just like please don't ever.
Yeah. No. I mean, I think you should know by now how I feel about my own shit. So I wouldn't be thinking that. But I'm saying after the music is made, like after the music is made, I'm not even really like. That's not even, I mean, I don't know. I guess I just feel like, maybe as artists, we should try to, cause you did a slight review on my, on my shit. It was like one of them like fast reviews. Like, and to be honest, to be fair, I think I got like one of the best out of that fast review. You were terrorizing everybody else. So I was like, oh shit, what's about to, what's about to happen? But you were cool on me. So I liked that. But I had to think about what my relationship was going to be with music reviews after that, because that was my first like big review. Like even though
you've got some other write-ups,
I've got some write-ups, but I'm saying as an album, like a lot of people listen to your reviews. So I was like, you know what I mean? So it was like, oh man, okay, I wonder. And that was the first time that I had heard somebody be a little bit critical, like just even like a little bit. So that's how I had to like, I think in my head, I was like, okay, man, how am I gonna like, what's my relationship going to be with people that are creating the music? You know what I'm saying? And what I figured out was even somebody like yourself and any other listener, they're going to be in a certain place when they're listening to the music. Like, meaning you could not be in the space for listening to something as eclectic as Cardinal Coffee today, but be in that space maybe a year or two from now and want to hear that record over and over and over again. It's just resonate for you because that's where you are at this moment, listening wise. That's what you want to hear. Maybe you're in a space where you want to hear more melody than just bar after bar after bar after bar. You're like, man, this song isn't really giving me, enough melody in the choruses or the songwriting or whatever. Maybe it's not as interesting. And I guess what I'm saying is people are going to make comments on where they're at that moment. Like where they're at that moment. So that's not for me to sweat about. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like at this moment, this person wanted to hear this kind of music or they wanted to appreciate this, but I'm not going back and apologizing for shit. Like I'm not going back and saying, oh, this should have been this should have been that. I'm a vessel. This shit is moving through me. So it's almost fucking ungrateful for me to complain about what I put down. Like, because I'm getting this shit for free. This shit is moving through me onto the track. So it's ungrateful for me to say, hey, no, this isn't that. If I put it down and I put it out, then it's perfectly what it is. You know what I'm saying? And artists need to, I feel like, well, they don't need to do anything. I'm just telling you how I do things. But like, I feel that should be appreciated, or that should be like a mantra that's stuck to. Once you put it out, man, just relax. And let it live and let it breathe and, let it have its timeless, stint and see what happens with it, man. It's perfectly what it is. Some people will not mess with it because that's just not where they are right now. They want to hear something different. You know what I'm saying? When I was in 7th grade, I wanted to hear 3 6 Mafia, Shine, and fucking 504 Boys. Like I wanted to hear some hard shit, like crazy tough shit, like shit that I would get in trouble for listening to. And if it wasn't that, then I wasn't really having it. Like, no, no, you can get that out of here. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean that the artist should be offended by that. It just means that, like, kind of like Tyler the Creator was saying, that wasn't my reference at that moment, or that's not where the space that I was in. So that was long-winded, but I hope you get my point.
No, I do get your point. I mean, to talk about like Tyler the Creator's early stuff, for example, like do I have some really harsh reviews of like Goblin and Cherry Bomb and so on and so forth? Like, yeah, I do. Yeah. But like simultaneously, could I understand, at that time when I was doing the reviews and I was getting like really negative feedback on like all of them, and I was just like getting flamed in the comments over and over. Simultaneously, could I understand that if I was 15, like, would I think that that's like the hardest shit I've ever heard, and that album is like feeding my energy back to me? Like, yeah, of course. Yeah. But the thing is I'm not 15, and I have to like be honest about how the record is making me feel as a guy who's deep into his 20s and whose, whole reason or, whole like drive behind doing anything that I'm doing is that I've heard a lot of this stuff and I've experienced a lot of stuff, and it's like, I get where it's coming from, but do I find it appealing and do I think it's done well? Like, in this instance, no. But the thing is, and over the years, like, have those records appealed to me more? Not really. I mean, now that I enjoy Tyler's newer stuff a lot more, I kind of see them in a different light and see them in a different context. But, I am already kind of past, I think, the point in my life and age where I'm going to get out of those records emotionally what I would have if I was at a younger age. But it's like, I get that in concept, because there are tons of shitty, bad, rap and metal records that I enjoyed as a teenage record, that the only thing I liked about them is that they were hard. And like, and going back now and listening to them, some of them have aged well and some of them are really good, but some of them are just like, there's not really anything to this other than it just being mad, which like, I like angry music, but if you could do it with some like nuance or creativity or, or a distinct character, that keeps me coming back. But like when I was less discerning as a teenager and I would listen to anything that was angry, like I wasn't really picky about it.
Sure. Yeah. I just for the record, I think that Tyler the Creator is absolutely brilliant. Just. Yeah,
I mean, obviously you have a positive opinion of his music, and I like a lot of his. I've given all of his new stuff positive reviews. Yeah,
but you're not wrong though. Like everything that you just told me about why you didn't resonate with his earlier stuff. Like you're not wrong. Yeah, and I think he would tell you that too. Like it's like, bro, like. You just didn't resonate. That is what it is. That's where he was at.
Yeah, I don't think Tyler's under like, the delusion that like, that Goblin record, I really fucking snapped on that record. You know what I mean? I think he probably has, he's probably got more emotional investment in his latest projects.
Sure. Yeah. Wait, do you play an instrument, bro?
Yeah, I play bass.
Wow. Okay. Do you like? What do you do with that? Just for fun, or do you like make tracks? Like,
I haven't made any. I haven't made any bass tracks. I just do a lot of noodling and just a lot of I don't know. Just
I feel like I've seen you I feel like I've seen that before, and I thought it was kind of cool. So I was just like wondering if that was just something you did for fun, or you in a band or something, or you have aspirations to drop a tape.
No, I'm not in a band.
If you drop the tape, bro, you can break the net. If you drop the tape, bro, you should drop an instrumental tape.
I would get trending. I would start trending. Like everybody would line up to be like, now we're gonna shit on his music, which would be fine if people wanted to like if that gave people some joy. Like if somebody if the highlight of someone's day is being like, now I'm gonna shit on his music. I mean, at least I created something.
True. One more thing. Do you go into a record with wanting it to be good or bad?
I mean, I want to enjoy everything I hear. There are some records where I know it's going to be bad. You know, I know it's going to be bad, and I feel like, and I feel like I'm in a rock
How do you know that?
and I feel like I'm in a rock and a hard place because like let's say for example, you know, I've reviewed artist X's record, and
Uh-huh.
I think their album is awful. Let's say bad production, bad mixes, bad singing, songs all sound the fucking same, whatever. And so I have my view of that. I have my critique of that. But simultaneously, that artist may be like really successful, huge audience, so on and so forth. So, you know, I have my opinion, yeah. But by that same token, they're reaping nothing but just like benefits of that record. So it's like when the next album comes around, there's not going to be any incentive to change or, you know, or try anything different or, you know, do another thing. And when I hear maybe 2 or 3 teasers and they sound exactly like the same shit off the last record, then I'm just kind of like, okay, well, it's just going to kind of be a repeat, you know? I mean, when I say I know something's going to be bad, it's never some random artist I found off the street. You know what I mean? Like if it's some new album, new artist, some new thing I've never heard of before, I mean, there's no reason not to give it a fair shot. If I have the time to, you know, there's no reason not to give it a fair shot and just expect, okay, could be good, you know, but if it's like something I've heard before from an artist who's disappointed me in the past and given, you know, like the trajectory of their career and maybe some of the teasers to the record, there's no sign that this is going to change or alter course or improve in any way, then it's like, okay, well, I'm just kind of in for a helping of the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's more so artists that you've like heard a lot from, and you kind of just can like predict the trajectory of what is going down. Like you just kind of know, like,
or at least like, or at least
real here. They're going to try to stay safe with what worked before.
Yeah. Or, you know, like, I think, you know, not to put you in a position where you have to comment on anybody, but, you know, I think kind of like a famous example of this is, you know, like Drake, who, you know, no matter what he drops, when he drops, it becomes this huge viral moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of his projects as of late have been more like compilations or playlist style, when honestly, like, I feel like a lot of his best and core records, the ones that have aged the best and have resonated with people the most and feel almost classic at this point, are the most focused albums in his catalog and the ones that are, you know, the most cohesive. But like now he's in this position where people are consuming music in such a way where you don't really need to put out a cohesive record if you have an audience that's resonating with whatever you do. You know what I mean? So it's like, I know with whatever Drake ends up dropping album wise, it's going to be probably bloated. There's going to be a lot of duds on there. But honestly, for Drake, that doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because what's really going to end up lining his pocket and continuing and furthering his career is whatever viral moments sprout off of the 6 to 10 songs that really resonate with people and, you know, kind of create their own little, you know, social, I guess, phenomena, like beyond the release of the record itself. So, you know, there's no real pressure on Drake's part to, you know, come out with another, if you're reading this is too late. You know what I mean? Where everything seems to be coming from like a really specific place and everything is like written and pulled together so carefully. You know, I think on a lot of his more recent stuff, starting with almost Views, he's kind of just like throwing whatever out there and just kind of seeing whatever sticks.
Do you think that that's what happens to artists? And I don't know how Drake thinks or how he, you know, goes about making his shit. So I'm not going to pretend to know that, but do you think that's what happens? Like when artists blow up, they just like,
I don't think that happens with artists across the board. I think that happens with, you know, a very specific set of popular artists whose audience consumes their music in a certain way. Because look, you can even go on to the Spotify pages of some of the artists who make these records and, you know, they put out records that are like 18 tracks, 20 tracks, 25 tracks, 30 tracks. And you look at like the plays across all those songs and you have tracks that maybe have plays in the 100,000s range, the million range, the couple million range. But then you have others on the record that are like 25 million plays, 50 million plays, 100 million plays. You know, the fans aren't listening to that whole record all the way fucking through, you know? Yeah. And, you know, the artist, knows and understands that as well. They're seeking those viral moments from a handful of songs, as you literally said when we started this interview. You know, they come out with these records where they're kind of just coming out with a bunch of samey tracks and a sort of a shotgun blast and just blam, and they know that at least some of those hits are going to collect around the bullseye, while the rest of them just sort of like, you know, fall off. But, you know, honestly, it doesn't really end up mattering, because the price to entry for that record was, I just logged on to Spotify and I streamed it. And, you know, nobody came away from that record hurt, because nobody walked into it buying it, you know?
And whoever the artist is has about 2 hits on there. Mm-hmm. So that's, I mean, like 2 ones that are probably in the 100 million.
Yeah. And look, and given the way that a lot of people consume music in such a casual way, if people don't like a bunch of songs off a record, there's not really any pressure to feel any type of way about it, because most of their favorite artists, they're just kind of experiencing through a playlist they've made, or that they're, you know, constantly adding to, or, you know, playlists that they're stumbling across and listening to elsewhere, which is a fine way to consume music. It's just not like, you know, the only way. And if your audience is consuming music that way, it's not going to lead to, I guess, an incentive to, you know, carefully craft, like, you know, really good albums. I mean, you know, Kendrick Lamar's, Damn, for example, you know, I'm not, that's not my favorite record of his, but like, you could tell that was a really carefully crafted album with a super concise track list. And you see that when you go on the pages, you know, of Spotify where you stream that record, that the fans are enjoying, for the most part, the entire record. You know, obviously you have big hits off of it, like Humble and so on and so forth. But like, you know, you have multiple songs off of that record going platinum, because everybody's listening to the entire thing. Everybody's enjoying the entire thing as an experience. And to one of the points you were alluding to earlier, there's like no right or wrong way, you know, as long as you're serving your audience, you know, as an artist, as long as you're serving your audience and you're making your audience happy, that's like literally all you have to do. You don't have to make any, you don't have to make any fucking critics happy, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think first you should be serving yourself.
But I'm talking in terms of like whatever your commercial obligations are. You know what I mean? Obviously serve yourself, but like obviously things have to be commercially successful to a point in order to be able to continue your career. And like the only thing that should be, you know, required of any artist, commercially speaking, is that their audience is fed, or their audience is consuming what they do in whatever way they consume it. Be that in, you know, certain tracks going platinum, playlist, you know, whatever, shuffle, randomize the fucking shit, or they're listening to the entire thing from front to back. And, you know, it just is what it is.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think that in my experience, those are the ones that I end up like appreciating more, and they're like just more interesting to me. And I just like I get inspired by those type of records that is like a front to back listen. Like I said before, like you said at the beginning of the interview, I commented on this. The dartboard records I'm over those. I'm kind of I don't know, maybe there's like a little bit of music critic in me or something. I don't fucking know, but I'm like, I don't have the stamina anymore for the dartboard records, but I really get intrigued when somebody puts together a front to back album that I don't want to skip. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like track to track, I don't want to skip. And like you said, you use a great word, like it's concise and it's calculated and it's careful. Those are the ones that end up sticking to me. And I hope, you know, on whatever, you know, level anybody wants to put it on, I hope that with Cardinal Coffee, I hope that people got that from that record, regardless of what they think. I hope that it was a record that they had to go from 1 to 9. Like I feel that we did a good job with that because of the eclecticness of the record. But I hope that they went from 1 to 9. That would make me very happy if they're, you know, they didn't consider it one of those dartboard records where they can just, you know, kind of skip and jump around sporadically.
I think it's a tough record to know what you're going to be in for unless you somehow know ahead of time, because you may stumble across a certain song or a track sort of like, you know, off the beaten path and be like, well, this isn't really my vibe, you know, but unless you're like going through the entire record, you don't really know it's kind of doing everything. You know, it's attempting everything, and it's
Yeah.
doing it all pretty convincingly. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so you know, I mean, anybody listening now, you know, if you go into Cardinal Coffee, you know that you're going to hear a little bit of it all, and at least from my own perspective, it leaves me pretty intrigued to hear what you're going to do and attempt next.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's a great place to be in.
All right. Well,
I think you'll be
I'm looking forward
very.
to all the movies you're going to direct. And
It might be coming sooner than later too, by the way, but you didn't hear that from
well,
me.
hopefully albums first though.
Yeah, yeah,
We need
yeah.
to get through the
Yeah,
albums
maybe.
phase. We need to get through the albums phase first. Come on.
Yeah, no, no, no. I'm always going to be dropping music, Extano. That's always going to be happening. But simultaneously, we might be putting out some, we might be directing some things.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, listen, thank you for coming through and being a great guest.
Thank you for having me, and thank the people that are in the inbox or in the on the feed in the comments showing love. Tell them that I love them as well, very dearly.
Again, our guest was Exum. Check out the new record Cardinal Coffee, and yeah, we will see you when you drop some new music soon.
Yes.
All right. Well, have a good one, sir.